Great. Welcome to the Talk AI Summit. I'm Jenny Young, Head of Marketing at Signals and the host for this event. Signals helps organizations increase output and scale faster with digital workforce that is always on. The company's cloud employee platform reimagines how work gets done with programmable AI cloud employees in a holistic, multi-channel system for autonomous handling of buyer-facing interactions in sales, marketing, customer service, and HR. We're excited to bring you our very first Talk AI Summit. With all the noise in AI, we wanted to create a place where real builders, practitioners, and thought leaders come together to share what's working, what's next, and how to move beyond the hype. And the response, over 3,000 registrants, a clear sign that this conversation matters and that AI isn't slowing down anytime soon. One quick announcement before we start, we want to mention if you're looking for more actionable ways to implement AI, specifically data and AI, we have a sister event next week, Wednesday, May 21st, hosted by Domo. You can find the Agentic Innovation Summit on LinkedIn or visit aai-summit.com. And you're in luck. It's also free, virtual, and available on demand for all registered. Okay, back to the AI Summit. We're kicking things off by celebrating the winners of the 2025 Talk AI Summit Awards. These awards spotlight more than 70 individuals nominated by the community across 4 categories, and we received a record-breaking 9,000 votes, recognizing their impact in shaping the future of AI. If you're interested in seeing all of the nominees, go to talkaisummit.com. We'd like to recognize the top 4 individuals who received the most votes in each category. Starting with the winners for visionaries. These individuals are shaping the global AI conversation and defining its ethical, strategic, and business impact. We'd like to recognize Roizen Bennett, Soyesh Karki, Hamilton Mann, Gabriel Gianni Moreno. Next up, we have AI accelerators. These leaders are turning AI potential into business reality. We'd love to recognize Sunny Salim, Pooja Jain, Michelle R. Deschamps, and Evan Hughes. Next, we'd like to recognize the operators who are bridging AI innovation with real-world execution. Richa Singh, Yusuf Hussain, Miss Tolani Favor, and Lexi Graham. Lastly, we want to celebrate the amplifiers who are driving shifts in AI adoption and strategy, featuring Nate Herkelman, Swagata Ashwani, Ari Arungiz, and Janki Patel. Okay, let's dive into the live sessions. We'll start with Dave Elkington, a pioneer in sales innovation who helped shape modern selling. Then we'll hear from Kelly Hopping, CMO at Demandbase, as she dives into how to go from experimenting with AI to generating real pipeline and revenue impact. Each keynote will run for 30 minutes, followed by live sessions with some of the brightest minds in AI. And if you prefer to explore on your own time, head over to talkaisummit.com, where new on-demand sessions will drop at 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. As I mentioned, we're starting with someone who helped write the modern playbook for sales and go-to-market, Dave Elkington, founder of Inside Sales, and now founder of Signals. He'll be joined by Gabe Larson, AI go-to-market advisor and longtime leader in the revenue space. Together, they'll dive into the real state of AI and go-to-market, what's hype, what's actually working, and how to move up the AI maturity curve without falling into the tool drop trap. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Gabe.
Jenny, really excited to dive in today, talk all things AI. Again, I'm Gabe Larson. We have Dave Elkington, founder and CEO here of Signals. Dave, thanks for joining. How are you?
Excited to be here. It's kind of a crazy time, right? Like we're in the middle of this massive global disruption of AI, which kind of is an indication why I think, this event had so many attendees. I mean, Jenny, I just mentioned it, but over 9,000 votes for the award nominees. Like that's some interest right there.
For sure. So I think one of the things that people are asking is, Dave, why this event? Why now? Obviously a lot going on, but how would you kind of tee that up?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of teed off of a conversation you and I had it was probably a few months ago where you described like this boardroom experience. And I'm seeing similar things, but like kind of share that experience with everybody here.
Yeah, that's right. So look, I don't think I'm alone. I'm talking to a lot of peers, and I think there's this tipping point that's happening in boardrooms across the nation. And you're either being lightly pushed or punched with different comments. And my experience was, I'm sitting in a board meeting and very respectfully, one of the board members was, hey, Gabe, I want to make sure in front of your peers here, I want to call you out, or I want to hear about your AI strategy and what you guys are doing. And again, I don't think I'm alone. I think across the nation, people are getting kind of that push of what are you doing with AI? But the challenge is, I don't know if that's where it ends. And something you and I were kind of chatting about is that feels a little bit like a solution more than maybe the problem that we're solving, right?
So, and it's interesting, like you said, and it's especially in go-to-market, we're seeing this, like every CEO is asking their executives, whether it's their CMO or their whoever, like you need a go-to-market strategy. So the question is, what's the problem they're trying to solve? Like, again, this massive hammer of AI, like give me an AI solution. And I think I've had several CMOs, CROs, head of revenue say, okay, great. What do you want me to solve with this thing? And I think the answer, it's interesting. I think the answer is actually, it goes back to post-COVID. So if you kind of look at what's happened in the markets over the last 4 or 5 years, coming out of COVID, the public markets have changed what they expect of companies. They've said, look, it used to be just grow like crazy. We don't care if you're burning cash, grow at all costs, whether it's technology or healthcare, like you saw Pfizer, like all of these organizations were on these meteoric growth rates. And the market's like, no, you can't burn cash so fast. So every CEO was like, great, I know exactly what to do. I'll just fire everybody. So we saw mass layoffs, right? Like,
boy, did we. I remember that, right? It was Twitter to Amazon, I mean, all the big ones. And actually it trickled down, I think. I think a lot of people took that approach.
I think even small startups said, well, okay, that worked for like a year or two. And then sure enough, the public markets were like, no, you don't get it. Like, you can't just fire people. You have to be more efficient. And so they're like, oh, shoot, well, how am I going to do this? And they're like, it must be AI. So it kind of coincided with like what's happened with OpenAI and the kind of the broad adoption of like Google and Anthropic and Grok and all of these different AI solutions. And so the question is, what really is the problem? And it's not what are the public markets asking CEOs to do? And the answer is they have to grow efficiently and they have to do it smartly. So,
but I think, Dave, that the challenge people like me and go-to-market leaders have found is it feels like that old playbook isn't working very well, right? We were kind of, when that flip, I love the way you framed it. Yeah, you could get rid of people and that kind of worked, but then you still needed to grow. And it's like, okay, I know how to grow. Old playbook, throw people, throw tools. And that doesn't work anymore.
So if you think about the play, every venture-backed company to every Fortune 500 company has the same play. Hire a bunch of people and buy the tools that automate them. And I think we've hit a diminishing return. Like, it doesn't work anymore. And I think there's two core problems behind this. One, because of inflation, the people cost has just gotten so high. Like, when you and I were at Inside Sales together, I think we were paying, this is like early days, like 20 years ago, a BDR was making like $35,000 a year, $40,000 a year. Today, an average BDR makes anywhere, kind of fully burdened, anywhere from like $100,000 to $180,000 a year. But it's not just, and again, it's an inflationary problem. It's not those people. But I would say the bigger problem is the technology. So if you look at the tech stack companies have, because they're just running that playbook, it's just like buy a cadence tool, buy a CRM, buy a call center tool, and we just buy it. At core, these things don't talk to each other. So you have all of these, they kind of do through an API or through MuleSoft or something like that, but they're siloed tools. So you end up with problems like you see with your iPhone, where it's like, I've got Siri, it's an amazing tool, but it only works when I'm using Apple tools. So like, if I want Siri to go, she's going to answer me here. If I want her to go play an Audible book for me, well, Apple doesn't like to play nice with Amazon, so it doesn't work. Like, how many times have we tried to get it to do something, but those tools are so independent that it actually doesn't work together. So we've hit this diminishing return.
I love it. I love it. I think that's great because, yeah, again, a lot of people being pressed to do AI, but I think the framing of the problem, why to do it, this effective do more with less kind of idea is super important. So back to the boardroom, you and I, we talked to a bunch of companies, and we still have that directive, what is your AI strategy? And I'm fascinated as I look out there because it feels like everybody's at a different stage in this kind of AI adoption model. What are some of the things you're seeing out there in the market?
Yeah, if you look, there's a lot of research around this. I mean, every research firm, every large company, you look at McKinsey, BCG, Bain, you have, Forrester and Gartner, Microsoft has theirs. Like it's basically an AI maturity model, which shows essentially 3 phases of AI adoption. You have kind of this early stage where people are experimenting. They're using OpenAI, they're copying and pasting, they're doing, document editing or ideation. That's kind of the first phase. The middle phase is like, okay, now I'm beginning to test with tools. I'm using existing tools, or I'm creating more structure around our OpenAI strategy. And then the final phase, which is like power users, where they're orchestrating complex workflows, piecing different tools together. And if you look in the research, the go-to-market space is somewhere between kind of late stage 1, mid stage 2. Whether it's McKinsey or BCG's data, everybody, it kind of shows I would say we're laggards behind like what we see in like the development space, like programmers. And I'll use an analogy. Like this one's super interesting. If you remember when like OpenAI first came out, Microsoft came out right after that with a product called Copilot. Now everybody has a Copilot, but it was Microsoft who first came out with this tool. And what it did is, as a programmer would code, it was this super smart autocomplete. So I'd be coding and it would look at the code around me and say, I think I know what Dave's doing. And it would like write the rest of my code.
Right.
It was useful about 30-40% of the time, but that's like better than nothing. Well, a year later, there's companies like one called Cursor just came out, I guess, a year or two ago. Windsurf is another one. And what these tools do, it's a very advanced. So it's kind of on that solid mid tier of what you see from like McKinsey, where it's like users are like writing prompts that basically write all of their code. So like the CEO of Anthropic described 90% of their code is written by Cursor. Like that's crazy. Imagine 90%, if I'm an AE, what if 90% of my pipeline came from an AI? Like sign me up, but that's not happening today. So we're, again, the go-to-market space, we're probably a year or 2 behind maybe the IT space, I think.
Well, I think you nailed it. And I think some of those research would probably back you on that front, but it does feel like, and to your point, whether it's 5 stages, 3, et cetera, there is a large group of companies, and I'm thinking go-to-market, who are allowing their people to play with some of these tools. Let's use OpenAI as an example, but then making it to that next phase where you were kind of explaining like the programming world is gone. We haven't been able to really cross that chasm, and I'm curious what you feel like is holding companies back from being able to maybe make that jump or make that move from just having everybody play with OpenAI and maybe measuring some usage to, wow, seeing some real results there.
So look, it's easy if I'm a developer and it's on my computer, and if it's bad, I just don't use it. And if it's good, I use it. If I'm a sales rep or a support rep or a customer service rep or a marketer, I'm now representing our brand and our voice to the whole world. So if AI gets it wrong, that's bad on me and I'll get fired. So I think the risks of getting AI wrong in the go-to-market space are much higher. So which means our deployment strategy has to be completely different. So again, if you're listening today, I would say one of the things you need to think about is change the way you think about adopting AI. And it kind of matches that, the McKinsey BCG adoption cycle. Start your new start lots of experiment. Like you need to get very smart. Like don't buy a tool to try and deploy your AI strategy. Like by the way, on a side note, I can't count how many CMOs or CROs I've talked to who've looked at our product and been like, this is my AI strategy. I'm like, no, this is a platform that you can deploy an AI strategy in. So before you can have an AI strategy, get smart, try things, talk to people, go to events like this, network, listen to the rest of these sessions. That's like your number one thing. Then begin validate, like test, run pilots across lots of different things. What we find is people are afraid to do, just to even know if it works in their environment. So run a validation phase, number one. Number two, run a limited pilot. Think like 90 days.
Yep.
Once you've proven that, then think about scaling. So start small, test it, expand a little bit, and then expand more.
Yeah, I think that's super important because there's so many people who are kind of throwing a tool at it, and as we've probably done in the old days, and that's not working. You can't, like, a tool isn't and in a lot of cases, they're not tools, they're teammates. And so you can't really just throw it at something. You actually have to like embed it, relook at your process and run through. I like that deployment strategy. Another thing you had mentioned, so one's deployment strategy. Another thing you mentioned is a little bit more around the tool itself. I think there are different types of kind of AI tools. Maybe click on that if you can quick.
Yeah, I mean, and so the thing I would think about AI in the go-to-market space, because it's different. As I mentioned, AI is client-facing when we're in the go-to-market space, which means you have to treat it very, very differently. And by the way, just before I talk about the right way to do it, I'll share some of the wrong. Like, we're seeing companies, and I won't name companies, but there are companies out there that are taking kind of an automation spam approach to, a BDR or an AE type role. And they're just putting automation on the top of it. And it's burning. It's like, if you take a bad process and then you automate it with AI to be even better and even faster, you're going to get a lot of bad. So we're seeing that happen a lot. So be wary of tools that are like very niche, that do one thing, that are basically automating, one specific process that doesn't really have context. So in contrast to that, what's right is these AI tools, or these cloud, we call them a cloud employee, because it's different than just an agent. There's lots of agents out there, just some kind of automation. You need tools that have understanding of your entire tech stack, and really the information that you have on your customers. So like, think it needs to have access to really your CRM information. It needs to have access to your marketing automation information. It needs to have access to your signal data. Like, it needs to know, so that when it's interacting with your clients, your prospects, your customers, it has to have that context and can represent your company, represent your brand, represent your company's history. Like, if you don't have that, it's going to be a weird, uncomfortable experience for your buyers.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And then talk to me a little bit about use cases. I was chatting with a friend recently, and I know AI will infiltrate everything probably and go to market at some point, but right now there does seem to be some winners and losers, and it feels like there's something there. You've got to be conscientious about the use cases you deployed in. Where are you seeing it?
I would say, it's beyond conscientious. If you apply to the wrong use case, it's gonna crash and burn. So for real, because what'll happen is, you'll try and solve something, it will interact with prospects or clients, and it'll embarrass you. You'll get fired. So just be wary. Think about the use case. We call them pressure point positions. So what you're trying to do is, you're trying to find highly redundant, kind of tedious tasks that are the very same tasks that happen over and over and over every time. Those are like prime topics or prime use cases for AI cloud employees, or AI kind of advanced AI agents. So the ones that we see that are really successful, one, think about like filling an event. I've got a customer dinner and I need to go get, customers to this dinner, or I have a virtual event like this. In fact, many of you were invited and are registered and attending today because you had an AI voice agent, a cloud employee from Signals, reach out to you and invite you. So like, think about like, that's a really good use case. Another use case would be like responding to a web form. So an MQL. So somebody fills out a web form. You could have a cloud employee call them immediately, schedule a follow-up meeting for an AE. It could send email reminders the day of. It could send text messages like 15 or 20 minutes before. So we call them AI flows. So think about those use cases, not in like single transactions. Think about them as a multi-step multimedia interaction process that's honestly just like a human would do it.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I love that. I think if people are able to nail a couple of those categories, it would move you from that Chat GPT world, level 2
That's
more
right.
into that next level. And that's focusing on use cases, getting more intelligent tools, and I think a
That's
deployment process that isn't just a tool. So love that, Dave. I wanted to ask one thing. I know, obviously, you guys had a big announcement in this arena with this concept of cloud employees. Talk to us a little bit about what Signals is doing and maybe how that differentiates a cloud employee from like an AI agent.
AI agent. And again, I'll share a little bit about what we're doing, not as a sales pitch, but to understand the kinds of tools that I think are interesting that are emerging in the market. Obviously, we think they're very interesting. We announced our cloud employee platform that people are able to spin up a cloud employee. You define its personality, you define, because you want it to represent your brand correctly, you define its role. So like, here's what you do. You're a web lead response cloud employee, or your job is to fill events or things like that. And then you actually give it its voice, whether it's a phone or an email or a chat or a SMS type cloud employee. And then you build that flow for it. And it has the ability to be fully interactive. But the most important thing is it comes pre-built with over 1 billion conversations. So it comes pre-trained, hits the ground running. Think about it as like an always-on teammate. Number 2, it has access to your whole tech stack. So like those agents, when I'll give you an example of, if one of your Shopify customers calls into a cloud employee and says, hey, I have a return, like, where is it? It has access into Shopify. So it could say, oh, let me tell you where the return is. And then it has access into the US Post Office and says, hey, you should have it, you should have this return, picked up by tonight at 5 p.m.
Sure.
So it needs to have access to all of your data. And then the last 2 things are, it has to have your Signal data, needs to know, are they on the website? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they, and then I guess it needs to be learning and getting more intelligent and getting smarter. So that's kind of what Signals has produced. And there's it's not just us. Look at the market. There are people doing these kinds of things.
Yeah, yeah. Any quick stories that you would maybe just kind of help fine tune so people can understand how some of the intelligence with these cloud employees work together to drive results that you could share?
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing I would say is it's not AI like these agents or these cloud employees, as you guys are experimenting. Again, think about that McKinsey maturity cycle. Do what you got to do, like find these use cases that help move you up in that. It was interesting, depending on the research, only between 1% and 8% of companies are in that advanced category. So the way to move yourself up there, there's a thing to be careful of, and it says it in the BCG study. Don't do a tool drop on your team where you just buy some AI tool that automates some process, because tool drops don't equate to adoption. So the one thing I would tell you is be wary of tool drops. Don't try and force your team or yourself, for that matter, too far forward in that adoption cycle. So learn like crazy. Research, again, I said this before, watch all of the different speakers today, test different tools, experiment, watch YouTube videos, talk to friends, do a lot of networking, just learn as much as you can. I would say that's one thing. Number 2, really be cognizant about, as you look at the research, adoption is the big problem. It's not actually the technology. So think about adoption techniques. And then the last thing I would say is build a strategy outside of the tool. Come up with an approach, then apply tools to solve it. So those are kind of my 3 pieces of advice.
I love it. Well, Dave, it's always fun catching up, especially talking all things AI. So appreciate you taking the time for the audience. Enjoy the rest of the day, the rest of the sessions. Take care.
Thanks.
Oh, technical difficulties. All right. So thanks, Dave and Gabe, for that awesome keynote. I love Dave's advice. Don't just throw tools at your team and call it a strategy. Learn fast, start small, focus on adoption first. So next up, we're excited to be joined by Kelly Hopping, CMO of Demandbase and one of the sharpest minds in B2B marketing. She's led growth at HYCU, Gartner Digital Markets, Rackspace, and more. She brings a unique blend of consumer brand savvy and tech strategy. She's also the author of Rising and a fierce advocate for authentic leadership in the corporate world. All right, let's add you in. Kelly, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Great. So I'll go ahead and remove myself and get your slides added and turn the time over to you.
Perfect. All right. If you can hear, I don't know how to move. Oh, I know how to move slides now. Okay. I am ready. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. As Jenny said, my name is Kelly Hopping. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Demandbase, which is in the account-based go-to-market space. And so some of this will be slightly geared towards go-to-market, but hearing Dave and Gabe talk, so many common themes around adoption, around sophistication, around tool drops. I love that one. Around sort of point solutions for specific individual use cases versus integrating the whole workflow. So a lot of themes there. I'm going to back up a lot of what they said with data, because we just did a whole study about that intersection between go-to-market and AI and how they're all fitting there together. So right now, everyone is talking about AI, right? Everybody's talking about what it is, how they use it. They're using it for quick chat GPT cleanups, some quick research, some quick analytics, that kind of thing. But I think few are really turning it into real measurable go-to-market impact. And that's really what I want to talk about today, is how do we close that gap between AI potential and AI results? Figuring out how do we harness AI to accelerate our pipeline, to grow our revenue, to increase our efficiency, so that we can reduce time to winning. So really the goal is to move past the hype, like Gen AI, which has been kind of the most common use case over the past few years, is not enough, right? It's really about how do we leverage AI to actually transform our strategy, not so that we can replace people with robots, but instead that we can put people on more strategic, more thoughtful, more empathetic parts of the journey and just automate the mundane and the repetitive tasks. So we're going to go through some of that today. So let's start with our first slide. So beyond AI, there is so much there beyond Gen AI. It's really about transformation of how we go to market. We've talked about agents, but it's really about workflows. It's about our entire go-to-market process. I think I heard Dave say something about if you have bad process and you're automating a bad process, it's still going to be bad. It's the same thing if you've got bad data or disconnected data or not unified data across your entire go-to-market. You're going to get a bad result, because garbage in equals garbage out. And so really, as we start to think about it, how do we become more precise, more scalable, more efficient, and trust the results that are coming out? I sort of think of it as this evolution towards, from kind of analytical and creative or, content creation to this self-driving car analogy. So instead of just having predictive insights, you can actually have prescriptive models that drive behaviors, that drive change, that drive automation, so that you can streamline some of those workflows. Okay, so let's get into some data, because I think this stuff is super helpful. Right now, what you can see is that the majority of, now this is about B2B marketers, but the majority are using AI a decent amount, 2 to 10 hours. And I would say even the majority of that being in the 5 to 10 hours a week space. So there is adoption. It isn't that people aren't using it. It's figuring out how they're using it and how official, I guess I would say, and organized that function is. You're also seeing very traditional Gen AI use cases, right? You're seeing copywriting, you're seeing research, you're seeing asset creation. You're starting to see more and more use cases and go-to-market around predictive analytics for account selection. Who should we go after? In what sequence should we go after them? What is the prioritization there? And starting to capture, analyze buying signals. What are the signals? Demandbase, for example, takes all those signals and prescribes which accounts to go after based on AI running all that analysis of those intent signals. And so that's really where we've been today. Where we're going in the future is a little bit different. Yes, there's still going to be some of the Gen AI capabilities and needs around copywriting and that kind of thing, but you see a lot more rise to the top in the world of campaigns, outcomes, orchestration, actually taking those insights and using them to differentiate ourselves. So personalization of websites, customized campaigns, integrating them all together across your go-to-market tech stack. I think that was another thing that they've said, which is when we're using these point solutions within different agents, within different parts of the tech stack, you end up with a really broken process. You end up with kind of just junk coming out. But if you have it integrated across your tech stack, all leaning in on the same data, all leaning in on the same workflows, then you're actually powering all of it to give the right insights and teeing it up at the right stage in the flow. So that's a big part of that shift in readiness. So we're starting to see more and more of that. But here's the issue. Companies, adoption is super high, right? I know Dave just said, I think adoption is low. It turns out AI adoption on an individual basis is really, really high, specifically within go-to-market. 91% say they've adopted go-to-market or adopted AI to support their go-to-market efforts. That's incredible. Even 86% believe that it will have a very positive impact. This was based on a study we did with ForgeX just recently, like in the last 2 months. And so we asked them really about what they're expecting, and they all have very optimistic perspectives on how AI is going to help. And that's awesome. The challenge is there is a lack of organizational strategy around AI. And so go-to-market teams, they're not making that pivot as much because they're using them in a one-off basis. Someone doing a test of Reggie AI, somebody using an AI tool to augment their contact data for SDR outreach, someone using an AI tool to generate content for outreach, somebody to automate meeting scheduling, follow-up, that kind of thing, like all of those pieces, but they're handled in this very niche way. They want AI. Go-to-marketers are hungry for it. We saw that 91% adopted and 86% optimism, but it's fragmented. It's not an integrated, intentional way across the organization. And I think we see that a lot in the upmarket. I hear it all the time where our sales folks will come to us and say, hey, they really, really want to know our AI strategy. And a lot of times it's the smaller companies. It's kind of the modern day born in the cloud company. I don't know what we're calling them these days, but kind of the born in AI companies. They want to know the AI strategy. They want to know what the roadmap is. They want to know how we're integrating across the workflows. But these more established, maybe legacy enterprise companies, it's so blocked from their organization in terms of their ability to bring in data in that capacity, to automate capacity, or so protective, maybe it's healthcare, or FinServ, or somebody that has a lot of proprietary data, that AI is kind of blocked out. And so it's really that balance of how do we leverage it as individuals, but even more so, how do we make it an intentional part of the organizational structure? This is a massive opportunity for organizations to really lean in to build these functions. But with 52% actually satisfied with their organizational progress, it makes it a little bit harder to get there. Next, as we're thinking about it, I didn't skip to that slide fast enough. There you go. So you can actually see the data that I was talking about. The next thing is Dave talked about, it's almost like he teed up every one of these slides, which is beautiful, but he talked about this kind of AI journey, right? How do we get from sort of early adopter to kind of mainstream, kind of saturating the market? And so we call this the kind of AI arc of advancement. So this started with just Gen AI, right? Data aggregation, those are table stakes. But from there, it was really about how do we get to AI's real value? And that really comes as you move through this arc of advancement, as you get to predictive outcomes that can drive prescriptive actions and prescriptive solutions and next best steps to full automation at scale and that self-driving car idea. But right now, it sort of is grounded in what are those trusted insights and data. And the value of that comes in kind of this connected intelligence view, which is AI operating from a unified, trusted data layer that's then feeding not only a tool or the agents in that tool, but the entire go-to-market tech stack. So those sophisticated use cases now include autonomous agents taking actions on your behalf, that are learning continuously, that are operating across functions, operating across tools, all of them that are all accelerating pipeline. We're not there yet. So automation at scale, I think, is where we're going to see the market go in the next couple of years. And I think it's also when we're going to start to wonder or notice which AI companies are going to survive. I read stats all the time that say the average life in AI company, part of it's because they're new, is 3 years, because they either go out or they get bought or they get reimagined, or because they get proven that by automating that one singular use case that even Dave mentioned, that there's not enough volume, and they're not touching enough because they're not running on a singular set of data. So if we think about where AI will be impactful in the future, what are the desired outcomes that a company is looking for, you'll see that they're expecting AI to impact the analysis of buying signals, the predictive analytics around which accounts to go after, which markets to pursue, and then kind of the automation of some of the tasks that go with that. So you have pre-automation of copywriting and research and all those things that you expect to be happening, but how can you plug that in and integrate that behavior with the next best actions, with the orchestration across the platform, with the personalization of your messaging on websites or landing pages or emails. And so this is really, it's proof that go-to-market's moving in the right direction beyond just automation, but towards truly predictive and agentic across the organization, but it's going to take time. But we all want to get there. So there is a high desire in the marketplace. So what are the issues? What's going to keep us from getting to those desired outcomes? I think trust issues is a big one. As I just said, we're really in this prove it era of AI. 3 years ago, it was like, or 2 years ago, 18 months ago, it was, it's AI. Everything we need to do is AI. We need to, like, why waste any tool that's not AI first? And that was kind of the proof. Now that you've gone through, people have started to work through those organizations that are really struggling to prove the value of the AI that they're delivering, that garbage in, garbage out, poor data, poor insights, poor trust, bad process. Automation of bad process is still bad process. It must be built on clean, unified, relevant data sets. A lot of these newer AI tools, they depend solely on third-party data. The challenge is you don't have validation, so the AI tool takes the brunt if it's facilitating data that's not theirs. And so if you can, if you can have automation that brings together your first-party data and third-party data and integrates it around your workflows, your insights, your IP, you're able to actually have a compelling differentiation. So the stat I used a while ago about failing in 3 years, it's about 85% of AI startups fail within 3 years. That's crazy. So you can understand why, if you're trying to get executive, an integrated strategy around buy-in from the top in your company, it's why executives are wary of this, especially right now in an economy like we're in. They don't want to take bets on AI companies that may not be around. I met with a friend of mine the other day who is a partner at one of the biggest early stage kind of tech VCs. And he's like, I feel like I want to take a sabbatical for about 3 years and then come back once all this AI stuff is settled down. He's like, because it's all crap. Like, not meaning that all the companies are, it's that there's so much AI just junk in the market that it's hard to know which is the cream and what's actually going to rise to the top. So just know that if you're going to test AI in this prove it era, trust really comes from time-tested models, transparency, measured results. Okay, so where are we in this AI exploration? Pretty interesting stuff. There is a lack of organizational trust in AI and data quality. It's creating a gap in organizations. My light just went off in my room. It's creating a gap. So there's a gap in kind of how we're experiencing, how we are training, how we are testing. And so it's kind of losing its value altogether. And that's the issue. And so you kind of want to be on one of the sides. We have the AI dismissers. People have had to say, I've got to go use AI on my phone because my organization won't allow it at all. We have others that say, I feel like my career's at risk because my company won't won't adopt AI, but the whole rest of the world is going on AI. Like, I'm going to get left behind if I stay here. I need to go to a company where they're actually embracing it. Then you have others, like we talked to people at Snowflake, at Salesforce, Hinkle, and we saw this massive lift in meetings booked. We saw cost reductions in how we create email copy and optimization. We saw cost reductions around research, around content production that we need. And we kind of call those more of the AI explorers. And I think that gap is widening. And that's pretty crazy, because then you're like, well, how do I get on the AI forward? Because some of these AI laggards or dismissers are going to miss the train, and they're going to be out of business on that, I think. And so I think as you're looking at career, as you're looking at adoption, continuing to pursue that and learn and do that exploration is what's going to keep both you competitive as a professional, but also your company moving forward. Okay, next we talk a little bit about this, what we call the pipeline equation. Really, the right intelligence is what makes the entire buyer journey smart and efficient. So if we can automate key steps, it reduces time to market and headcount on manual stuff, and automates the higher tasks or the higher value tasks. This is about fueling accurate decision-making. You have to trust your data. And so unifying your CRM, your marketing automation platform, your intent, your engagement data into a centralized go-to-market data cloud, whether that's a CDP, that's an embedded CDP in a platform like a Demandbase or something else where you're pulling together for second and third party data. All of that lays a foundation and then makes that AI actually actionable so that you can accelerate your outcomes, so that you can lower costs, so that you can increase speed to revenue. You can actually drive real-time orchestration across all of these, which helps you go after the right accounts at the right time. And again, this is in a go-to-market capacity. The next one is really about the complexity, because with all of that intelligence, many AI tools today are really isolated. They're resulting in these kind of dense, disconnected tech stacks where data doesn't flow, right? Having a platform that integrates your data, your intelligence, your execution is so key. True automation really happens when the data is unified and used across all of those, creating this kind of regeneration loop from learn to optimize to repeat across our go-to-market teams. It just won't work if it's kept siloed. So we use a few at Demandbase. I mean, just to kind of drop some tools, because I'm sure everybody's like, well, what tools do we use? There's some companies that are just AI tools, right? We use Jasper for content creation, for example. This is really about simplifying the creative stack. So what it does is has a built-in brand voice. It has templates. It is fed not by the World Wide Web of information as much as by our own proprietary data. So we can feed it our messaging documents, our go-to-market strategies, our personas, our ICP definitions, our target markets, everything that we have, our objection handling. I mean, you name it, competitive differentiation. We load all of that in, and then we can create content that's fueled just by that in our voice. That's pretty powerful. So we use that for content creation. We also use Demandbase. Surprise, surprise. We run Demandbase on Demandbase. Demandbase was built on what was formerly kind of called, or still is maybe, on machine learning and large language models, is really an AI-powered business. And it takes all these, it automates the collection of sort of first, second, third-party data, uses AI to power the insights that come out of it, and then automates the actions across marketing, sales, advertising, RevOps, using all of those shared data. And really where automation comes in that is prescribing who to go after based on whatever intent signals, prescribing what message, when, how, all the things at the right time. And then it's also about simplifying the user experience, automating it so that you can unlock the potential of the platform. You have some of these big platforms that are so complex. The agents allow certain complex workflows like building campaign journeys or optimizing for end states or outcomes. Building all of that into the platform allows more people to be able to use it. It kind of democratizes the platform for usability. So pretty exciting stuff there. Another one we use is Clay. Clay is, it helps us personalize outreach, right? It kind of does data enrichment for us. People use Clay in a lot of different ways. There's partnerships across the industry because it's really orchestrating all of these go-to-market motions together. And so we look for ways that we can supplement some of that data. And then, of course, we also use Gong. Gong captures, analyzes sales conversations. We use something called Momentum that extracts the themes of Gong into a simple AI-powered summary story of what's resonating and what's not with customers. So all of these work, but they all work on one source of data. They are all fed by a shared data set. So what that means is that whether we get it through our Marketo instance, whether we get it through Jasper, whether we get it through Demandbase or Salesforce or Gong or whatever tool we're using, it's all feeding off the same data, which means that we can trust that it's consistent in deriving the same insights. So pretty powerful stuff there. Okay, so how is this being adopted? And how are we working on it? Go-to-market workflows are evolving over time. The old way, if you look at this visual, what it really means is the old way is humans set the objective and then humans ran each task to get to an outcome. So that was a very manual lift, humans doing all the work. And now it's really evolving to more of a current, which is a hybrid model. It's a little bit what they call humans in the loop, which is humans setting objectives, working with robots to kind of build, design, structure that first task. Maybe some things are automated, not everything. We're getting involved at some stages. Robots are handling the other part. And then we have agents kind of automating a lot of those things. The future, it's going to be a lot of automation. It does not mean that humans go away. It means that humans are now focusing on differentiation, empathetic leadership, setting campaign strategies, designing messaging and use cases that break through, identifying pain points that our customers are experiencing, and using all of those to set the objectives, to set the strategy so that the robots can then go automate. And I think that's pretty powerful because it's really changing our role as go-to-market marketers in that phase, which is pretty powerful. The next is really about buying groups. I think that's another way where AI is really coming in, because modern B2B buying groups are really, they're larger, more dynamic, harder to engage. You're not selling to one person, you're aligning with 5, 10, 15 stakeholders. Everyone has a different role, different priorities, different levels of engagement. AI is what helps you track, adapt to that complexity. But the humans are still essential for all of that relationship building with those folks, creative problem solving with those folks, engaging at a strategic level in a consultative approach, things that you can't replace with automation or with Gen AI, right? AI handles the noise, signal tracking, prioritization, orchestration, but the humans then can focus on engaging the right people with empathy and insight. The next one is just really about buying into buying groups. So how do you use AI to really start to do that? AI lets you adapt in real time to buying group shifts and identify intent earlier so that you can build pipeline faster with more precision. It detects subtle changes in buyer behavior, surfaces early intent signals, alerts your team before competitors engage, so you can go faster and be smarter in the way that you play in the market. But again, I'm going to beat a dead horse here, which is just that clean, connected data is the foundation. As long as those buying groups are mapped to your same data set that's fueling your automation, that's fueling your go-to-market, that's fueling your account-based platform, that's fueling your marketing automation platform or your revenue intelligence platform, that all of these things are connected, that's when you're going to be able to get the right thing in front of these buying groups. So that's pretty powerful. So the last thing I'll kind of talk about really is about how do we grow pipeline using intelligence. And we've talked about how important shared data is. We've talked about how automation can help you focus on the right things. But really, I think there's kind of like 8 key parts that are relevant. So I'm going to go into each one of these because I think there's a lot of meat in here. And I'd love if there's any questions or anything that people have around it. It'd be interesting to hear. But one is clean data is critical. We've talked about that's foundational, but it's not just about data, shared data. It's about clean data. It's about making sure that you can trust the insights and the integrity of the actions being recommended. So that means you need data hygiene in your business. It means you can't buy off-the-shelf AI that's powered by somebody else's data. You need to trust the data where you're getting it from. The second one is really about honing in, and I'd love to hear in the comments, by the way, if people agree with any parts of this or disagree with any parts, but it's really honing in on intent intelligence. So an AI-powered intent tool unifies all the signals that you have to give you a real clear picture of the account. And so if you can understand account level insights, then your sellers, as a marketer, I'm trying to figure out how do I get all that into the hands of the seller in the simplest way possible, so the seller can then take those insights and outbound against it, understanding the pain points, understanding the engagement, understanding the intent that they've sent, understand if they attended a webinar recently about some specific topic, understanding if they're attending a certain event, whatever the insights are, that if I can roll that up in a really tight summary for our sellers, then they're going to be able to understand the account and go after them. The third one is, as we've talked about, content acceleration. This is Gen AI tools like Jasper or Writer or any of these that are really kind of grounded in ChatGPT that really simplify and accelerate content creation. So my recommendation, I've seen such a difference in running through a ChatGPT enterprise license and using Jasper, because Jasper is trained. I've trained it on my voice, so I can automate content from me. We've trained it on the demand-based brand voice so that we can speak and sound in the corporate tone and voice. That we've trained it on our customer pain points. We've trained it on our product data. We've trained on all the things that are relevant to our business. This helps streamline the content creation and that loop that we talked about of intelligent automation. So content acceleration is a really big one. And again, it's not because I think that I want a Gen AI tool generating our proprietary content. It's because I want every piece of content that we create to work so much harder. So if I'm going to have a writer spend 2 weeks writing an ebook about go-to-market strategies or how to use go to AI for revenue acceleration or whatever it is, that I want to be able to take that ebook and I want to create 20 derivatives of it. I want to create LinkedIn slideshows. I want to create video. I want to create, social tidbits. I want to create blogs. I want to create all kinds of things, topics for webinars. I want to use this one topic of proprietary content, but make it work as hard as possible in as many places as possible to capture people at different stages in their journey. And so that content acceleration is really about making each piece of your content work harder, not to outsource content creation in its entirety. Fourth one is account-based marketing orchestration. And I don't use the term ABM very often on purpose because I think it's so much more than marketing. It's really about account-based go-to-market, but it's really about using AI to coordinate those pipeline driving actions across sales, marketing, CX with RevOps at the center. Again, shared data, not negotiable, needed for alignment, needed for impact across all of that, but orchestrating that account-based journey, that through line that goes all the way through your go-to-market, AI can drive that and can coordinate all that together. Next one is smart personalization. So I think of this as really simplifying your personalized outreach so that you can send fewer but much better targeted messages with AI-powered customer research. So this doesn't mean, again, that we're saying all email and all SDR outreach should now be driven by a ChatGPT or a Gen AI tool of some sort. But you can personalize that outreach quickly by gathering up a bunch of customer research quickly and making those notes very, very personalized to get a higher hit rate, a higher return on time spent on those. Next one is really about conversation insights, right? Analyze sales calls. This is what Gong does very well. They analyze sales calls. They help you refine your deal strategy, help you work with deal acceleration, helped you adapt in real time as to what's working or not by kind of going back and recognizing those insights from a customer call and turning them into the next best step to follow up and move that customer along. Two more. And again, I wanted to spin this really intently because I think these are I wanted to go through each of these because I think they're super, super valuable. The next one is really about AI forecasting. How do we use AI to understand your pipeline health, understand historical data, better predict where deals are most likely to close, where they're coming from, where they're moving forward, and where they're going to close so that you can allocate your budget, your talent, your time accordingly. This helps identify not just where to pursue, but when and how hard and with what resources. So that's super, super important. And that's one of those things that's happening on the back end. It's not happening in customer facing generated content. This is about you operating smarter and faster so that you can increase your marketing efficiency, your go-to-market conversion, shorten your deal cycles, all of that. And then finally, I think is really about closed loop feedback. This is about feeding sales and buyer insights back into product and campaign planning. This keeps messaging, feature prioritization, go-to-market strategies all aligned with real-world buyer behavior. And so understanding how those insights can affect your product strategy, your roadmap, all of those are really, really helpful. And so you can plan the right campaigns based on where you're clicking, like where is it resonating with customers. So those are some of the ones. I'd love to hear if anybody thinks those are wrong, or if there's other use cases that they think everyone really can benefit from. And then finally, what I will say is I hear so many conversations. I get asked all the time. I feel like every time I sit on a podcast, people say, do you think AI is taking jobs? I do think there is some validation to that in certain roles, in certain places, but I don't think that AI can replace talent without some serious operational maturity. Organizations have to be ready to use it to accelerate, not eliminate what your team is doing. Agentic AI is really a growth engine. This is about helping teams move faster, act smarter, scale pipeline. Gen AI is just the starting point of that. It's really, the analogy we use is that it's really the GPS in a self-driving car. Gen AI is. True transformation actually happens when agentic AI turns those insights into action and then drives execution at scale. That's when you get that full self-driving car. So moving people from doing the work of just mundane, repetitive tasks to actually driving the insights and the strategic differentiation, that's where we're going to get there. AI is the engine, humans drive that engine. Your data is really the battery that drives and powers that forward. So my last advice would be just be discerning when choosing AI partners. Many of them will fail. It is a prove it era. Ask them to prove it. Understand the data that is powering them, because unified trusted data is so critical. And if the input's bad, the output will be worse. So choose tools, strategies that regenerate and improve your outcomes, not just automate noise. As Dave said, bad process, bad. Automating bad process, even worse. And so you don't be a part of that. So I think now in the future, intelligence wins, automation wins, with humans right there driving that forward. And with that, I think I am there. Please let me know if you have any questions. I don't know the format if I respond to these comments in the chat or not, but I'd love to chat if so.
Yeah, it looks like we got quite a few comments on LinkedIn, so feel free to jump in after and engage with those comments. Thank you again for taking the time to share your insights, and I love your perspective on how to turn AI potential into measurable go-to-market impact.
Awesome.
So thank you for joining us. It was such a pleasure. If people want to get in touch with you, is LinkedIn the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. Kelly Hopping. I'm on LinkedIn. Reach out anytime.
Great. Well, thank you again. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, everyone.
All right. So that was an awesome session from Kelly. And we also want to just thank everyone for joining us today and hearing from all of these amazing leaders. We do want to remind you that as this live session is going, we are releasing on-demand sessions that you can find at talkaisummit.com. So I'll just share here. So we have 8 incredible sessions that are now live, featuring leaders from Goldcast, Empresa AI, Caliber Mind, and more. So make sure you go and check them out. All right, up next, we'll be hearing from Nina Butler. Nina is currently the Chief of Staff for Reggie.ai, the market's only AI native sales engagement platform. She is on a mission to educate sales team on what a successful AI agent rep partnership looks like in this new age of AI. Prior to Reggie AI, Nina led the revenue marketing team at Elise, a B2B gifting platform. Nina will explore why AI agents alone won't solve your pipeline challenges and why the real future lies in a smarter hybrid approach that combines human strategy with AI speed. Nina, we're excited to hear from you, and I'll hand the time over now.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's session, Embracing AI-Driven Pipeline Generation Without Losing the Coveted Human Touch. Thank you, Signals, for bringing us all together today here for the Talk AI. Is Nina Butler. I am the current Chief of Staff for Reggie.ai, the only AI native sales engagement platform on the market. And a little bit about myself. Ironically, my professional and personal life has always been rooted in the power of human spirit. And as I've worked over my career for some of the most cutting edge technologies in the B2B marketing and sales space, I'm constantly thinking about how we can preserve the role of the human amidst all of this technological innovation. So it's a bit ironic working for an AI company when I'm really passionate about preserving the power of human in business. But today I'm here to talk to you all because we're all gathered at Talk AI Summit to discuss one thing, right? It's how to best take advantage of these AI technologies as they're rapidly reshaping how we organize our teams and our businesses around this innovation. Now, in particular, what I'm going to discuss today is about the rise of AI agents, which I'm sure is becoming much more of a household name now, how they threaten to collapse the technological structure and systems that businesses have relied on for decades to get work done, right? It's a big idea. But are AI agents really enough to get us out of our pipeline slump in particular, right? I think about all the time, there is always a shortage of pipeline in business, right? So are AI agents really going to be the secret sauce that help unlock things in brand new ways for businesses? Well, in this session, I'm actually going to break down why embracing more of a hybrid approach, one that marries all this advanced AI with human oversight, is actually going to be the key to unlocking our team's prospecting potentials. But to kick things off here, right, what is really the state of prospecting today? Well, simply put, there is much more work involved in generating pipeline today than there ever has been before. And a couple of these stats are pretty eye-opening, and I'm sure you can see yourself in them too, right? First and foremost, 75% of execs are saying that improvement in rep level activity volume is critical for their businesses. In other words, they need more out of their reps, right? The reps are doing the reps and sets, but they need more. But counter to that, 77% of reps are saying, I'm struggling to complete all the assigned tasks I already have today. So coach, I don't know how you want more out of me. I'm giving you all that I got, right? And to wrap this all up, ironically enough, over the past few decades, all this technological innovation, all these tools, platforms, and services that have been produced to actually help reps get this core prospecting work done is actually just leading to a less is more mindset, right? They're doing less with more. And 66% of reps are actually drowning in the tools that were built to help them. But amidst all this uphill battle that many prospecting teams are facing, there are these 3 undercurrents that are really pulling prospecting sales teams forward today. And the first trend here is AI innovation, right? I don't have to belabor this point. It's why we've all dialed into the Talk AI Summit today. Every single business leader is looking about how to critically incorporate AI into their core business workflows. So the demand for AI is there, and the teams that adapt it, embrace it, are going to be the ones that thrive. The second trend that are really pulling sales teams forward today and helping them think of much more differently about how business and work gets done inside their organizations is this forever quest for consolidation. Everyone you talk to is looking to consolidate. I guarantee that if we have 100 people dialed in right now, 94 of you have plans in place or are strongly considering how to collapse your tech stack in the next 12 months. Now, these changes to the technological infrastructure that threaten to collapse all this legacy tech stack is happening in really exciting ways. I'll get to that in just a minute. But the long and short of it is businesses are really thinking critically about how lean they can start to pare back their core go-to-market operations from a tech standpoint. And then the last and arguably most compelling trend here is this desire for rep workflow simplification, right? This is really the heartbeat of what I just started today's presentation with, which is 3/4 of sales leaders need more from their reps, and 3/4 of reps are saying, I'm giving you all that I got, right? There is something fundamentally broken in terms of the rep workflow today that needs to be dramatically simplified so reps can start to produce at the levels they once were able to. But how did we get to a place where reps are doing less with more? Well, for decades, enterprise leaders, I'm sure like many of you dialed in today, they've been playing these very sophisticated games of Jenga, adding these precarious layers to their tech stacks over time. And this stack was really designed to get mission critical work done. And every layer they added, they hoped would bring more levels of productivity, netting better outcomes for their team. But each addition has fallen short, right? If they hadn't, we wouldn't be in these pipeline predicaments and these activity level predicaments that we are today. 66% of reps are drowning in tools, right? So somehow along the way, our tower of Jenga blocks has become unstable. Now, Jaya Gupta from Foundation Capital has this very interesting thesis that discusses soon these legacy systems of technology are going to collapse into a singular cohesive framework, which she's calling a system of agents. And the real nuance and disruption with these systems of agents is they don't just improve these existing software layers that we built over time, they actually completely dismantle it in really exciting and innovative ways. So I'll kind of take you through the story arc, the evolution of these systems, and I'll really break down the promise and the pitfall along the way, right? To understand how we've gotten to this very disruptive level of systems of agents that are starting to permeate our businesses today. So if we go back into the 1980s, right, this is really when systems of record began materializing. And a lot of the software that started to be built in the 80s and beyond were designed with a singular focus, and that was storing and processing business critical data, right? Over time, right, over the decades, these systems of record spawned giants and household names as we know them, like SAP and Oracle and Salesforce, of course, right? But the real pitfall of this innovation was that these programs were built for utility rather than usability, right? Find me a sales rep that's hygienic with Salesforce, I dare you, right? It's an impossibility, or it's incredibly rare. And if you did, hang on to that rep tightly. Now, this lack of usability really spawned this next generation of innovation in the mid-2000s, which was the usability problems giving rise to our systems of engagement. And so these particular systems were designed with much more of an intuitive, user-friendly interface that could actually connect to these underlying systems of record. But ironically, these systems of engagement created brand new problems. While they successfully made the software much more accessible, much more intuitive, right? They actually generated exponentially more unstructured data across different mediums now, like text and audio and video, right? This was an ability for us to uncover a lot more about our buyers and their signals and their behaviors and their data points, but it was generating it in a way that actually made it hard to go back and reuse for our business's benefit. So then enter our systems of intelligent. This is in 2017, Greylock's Jerry Chen kind of coined this phrase, systems of intelligence. And it was actually something that lived between our systems of record and our systems of engagement. And it was much more of an action layer, right? It was designed to take all this data and repurpose it in a way, apply a degree of intelligence to it, and then act on it in a way that would propel the momentum of our customers through our journeys, right? This gave birth to some household names like Clari's and Outreaches of the world, right? But these systems still suffered from a fatal architecture flaw. Twofold. One, they remain dependent upon manual data entry, right? Those systems don't run unless a rep logs in every day and clicks the button and executes the tasks. And number two, they were not actually handled to build and make sense of all that unstructured data that was being generated from the systems of engagement, right? So enter today these systems of agents. And this is what a lot of people are predicting will be a complete dismantler of those, since the 1980s levels of innovation. And instead of adding more and more layers, the market is actually experiencing this true paradigm shift already inside their businesses. Now, you can think about these systems of agents as these autonomous AI entities that will completely collapse everything that we've known to be true, right? SaaS as a collective will be completely bedrocked by this. And so now these data models, these delivery models, these interfaces, right, all these things that have been manufactured over the past 4 decades are going to be completely reimagined. And this type of disruption just simply wasn't possible before agents hit the scene, right? But it does beg the question, are AI agents enough to address that earlier sales activity gap, like I mentioned, right? AI agents are able to capitalize on 2, but not fully 3 of those trends that I talked about are dominating prospecting sales teams today. They certainly check the AI innovation box. They certainly check the tech consolidation box, right? Some folks argue that, what used to be 10 to 12 pieces of RevTech software required to prospect might actually just turn into one centralized agent that's able to make sense of all that data and autonomously act on it, right? But it does not fully solve the rep workflow simplification problem. AI agents dramatically improve it, but it's not the full picture. And I actually think that making this end-to-end workflow completely owned and completely optimized by AI agents alone is an over-rotation. And you start to see in market, there are some solutions out there, there are some businesses out there that are going all in on, let's call it an AI SDR or some sort of AI digital worker. But when you strip the human out of that experience, you're actually going to be left with an experience gap. And the reason that I say that is all because of what tasks humans versus AI excel at today. Now, you can think about this in the context of a human, right? Of you and I. People say, oh, she's left brain dominated or he's right brain dominated, right? Well, what exactly does that mean? It tends to mean that you are partial and have a preference to certain task types, right? When people are described as left brain, they tend to be a bit more logical and analytical and data numerically oriented, right? Whereas your right brain tasks tend to be a bit more creative, more intuition based, require empathy and nuance, right? And when you think about what an AI agent excels at today and what humans excel at today, well, you can think about it really similarly. AI is going to be superior to human when it comes to consistently executing repeatable left brain aligned tasks, right? So think about these things like list building, right? Sorting through a bevy of intent signals, determining what the next best action could be for your buyer based on all that data, right? These are examples of critical work that must get done in the broader prospecting workflow that AI is going to do exponentially more consistently, more accurately, more predictably than even the best sales rep ever could, right? These are perfect examples of work that are appropriate to be transferred over to AI agents today. But this is where it gets interesting. When you still think about the critical tasks required, again, to execute prospecting and eventually develop pipeline, there are a litany of right brain aligned tasks that still need to be done. And these are things that should still be uniquely owned by your reps. A great example of this is cold calling, right? Again, there are examples out there of AI agents owning the full kit and caboodle. But in my perspective, hitters want to hit, right? Your reps that have been trained to be exemplary constituents of your brand, right? They're going to thrive on the phone when they are conversing with another human being, right? They are going to be able to handle real-time objections, pick up on nuances and social cues, right? In a way that AI is not able to successfully master today. And so when you think about, in the grand scheme of all the work to be done, how can you responsibly divvy up said work between humans and agents? This view can help you, right? So as we see it, leaders like you dialing in today actually need to be embracing both a stack and a strategy that leverages this idea of tech as a teammate. And it's one that's going to combine what reps have been doing and finding success in with the best of what this innovation around agentic AI has to offer. And so this is exactly how you can think about embracing an AI-driven pipeline generation strategy without losing the human touch. So in this particular example, I'll orient you to the visual. As you move left to right here, two things are happening. As you start on the left, these are experiences that I believe should be dominated and owned by rep excellence, right? As you move farther away, this is where you can give much more agency to AI to get some of that core prospecting work done. And it's a direct reflection of the conversion potential that you were deploying an agent versus human against, right? When you think about your highest converting audiences, you have your inbound leads, you have your tier 1 accounts, your ABM accounts, right? These, logically speaking, have the highest conversion potential of your total addressable market. And these should be the audiences that you are prioritizing rep-led activities within, right? Because those particular relationships and experiences are going to rely on much more of those right brain aligned task excellence. But as you move away from that, sweet spot target of your, ICP bullseye, and you move into much lower converting audiences, but audiences that are still required, right, to engage today in order to hit your total meeting goal or total pipeline goal, this is where AI starts to be a great partner and extension of a sales rep. Think about your, target accounts, but they're ice cold. Think about your tier 4 leads, right? Your recycled lead backlog. These are audiences that you still need to be panning for gold within, but you likely can't justify exclusive human capital against today, right? You don't have the headcount. You don't have enough hours in the week, right? 75% of reps are saying they don't have any more time to deploy against prospecting activities. These are great audiences to deploy AI much more thoughtfully against. Because when that particular audience, if you are leveraging the right type of technology, starts to increase those buying signals and that conversion potential starts to accelerate, it should be able to intelligently loop the sales rep in so they can take it across the finish line, right? And so only if you're able to make investments and architect your go-to-market prospecting strategy with this type of framework in mind, do we really see teams actually pulling themselves out of this pipeline slump and actually leveraging true tech as a teammate capabilities. And so using tech as a teammate, it really does capitalize on these 3 trends that I guarantee everybody dialing in today is experiencing at least 2, if not all 3 of these, right? Top-down AI innovation demands from executives, check. Tech as a teammate satisfies that. Your urge for consolidation, right? If you are a part of the 94% of businesses that are going to be reducing their tech stack and spend in the next 12 months, great. Tech as a teammate can help accomplish that for you. But then this is really where the beauty happens. If you're able to combine the best of what reps have been doing and finding success in with the best of what agentic AI has to offer, this is really going to be the unlock with that desired rep workflow simplification that businesses are demanding today. So for folks who don't know us, we are Reggie.ai. We like to say we've been doing AI since before it was cool, and it's quite funny that a company founded in 2020 in this space can be considered tenured. But we really have been pushing the envelope and capabilities of Gen AI and automation to scale modern prospecting for teams well before the ChatGPT craze broke out. And we're one of the earliest innovators, and honestly, people have been thinking about how to best unite AI agents and humans into a harmonious workflow, because we really do believe that this is the future of business. We do not believe the future of business is going to be exclusive AI agents, reducing your SDR and Salesforce because these agents can do everything. No, we actually believe that the businesses that will win at the end of the day are going to be the ones that understand how to operationalize those workflows simultaneously side by side. So if you'd like to know a little bit more about how we're tackling it here, I really hope you could drop me a note via LinkedIn, via email. I love talking about all things AI, especially when it comes to operationalizing it inside our really precarious teams and tech stacks. But thank you so much again to Signals for having everybody here today. And I hope that you all enjoy the rest of Talk AI Summit.
Great. Thank you, Nina. It was great to have you. So a few announcements. I can speak, I promise. Reminder that the 10 a.m. on-demand blocks are live. We also have an offer to go along with the keynotes we heard this morning on the AI go-to-market maturity model from skeptic to architect. You can download your copy at talkaisummit.com. Now that we've explored how sales teams can strike the right balance between humans and AI, let's hear how one company is building AI into the core of its go-to-market strategy. Up next, we'll be joined by Mark Booth from Domo and Signal's own Michael Davis. Mark will share how their team is approaching AI innovation and what it means for the future of go-to-market. Great. Over to you, Michael.
Excited to welcome Mark Booth, CMO at Domo, and a marketing leader who's been driving real results at some of the biggest names in tech. Mark's led teams at Adobe, Instructure, and now Domo, where he's all about building programs that turn strategy into action across the entire customer journey. Today, he's here to share how AI, data, and smart marketing are changing the way we work. How are you today, Mark?
I'm doing good. How are you, Michael?
I'm good. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm excited to really dive into to how AI is changing the way that we do marketing.
Totally.
So like I mentioned a second ago, you've led marketing teams at these major companies. How has your go-to-market strategy and marketing strategy changed with the evolution of AI?
Yeah, it's a fun and challenging and kind of scary environment. Marketing has never been like it is today. I got a message from my boss just the other day with a link to an Instagram piece that said, this startup is building world's first AI CMO that can replace entire ad teams. I was like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
But you know what? I like the fact that we're in a place where things can change so much, and we can really, truly affect change just by putting AI really at the forefront. I think that for so long now, you always have to be concerned and worried and vigilant about, is the AI that you're using safe, secure, governed? You know, how many stories are there of people who have not used safe and secure things and have created some pretty giant messes for their organization? So absolutely, positively, make sure that you are being wise. Make sure that you are being careful. But AI gives you the ability to scale and build in ways that we've never even been able to think of until now. Everything, you start thinking of individual use cases. Think of paid search. Think of content creation. Think of AI generated images and videos and whatnot. There is an ability to move so fast now that we've simply not been able to do in the past. So I am so bullish and so excited and so all in on how do we use AI to be able to multiply the impact that our teams can really have on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis.
Yeah, I mean, how are you sort of empowering your team to use AI on a day-to-day practical basis for these marketing initiatives?
Yeah, so I am a monster fan of fail fast. Don't be afraid to take risks. Now, from an AI perspective, take calculated, careful risks that are not going to get you in trouble from a governance or a safety and security perspective. However, it's not time, in my opinion, to sit back and relax and be a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 10th, 20th adopter. Go out and test. We're testing and trying some really cool things right now from an agentic perspective. Domo is an interesting platform because we enable all of our users to prepare data, visualize data, automate data, distribute, build end-to-end data products that can provide solutions across that entire data journey. And so AI has been a really big piece of what we build and what we do. People are building AI and data products right within the Domo platform today. We're working closely with the Signals team to be able to deliver some cool agents that do everything from, whether it's helping provide a chat-like experience on a site that answers any questions about our product or helps invite you to any kind of event, or makes dials and calls from an ADM or SDR perspective to be able to make sure that people know about some big campaign or event or something that's happening over the next little bit. But for me, I think that the foundation has to be, make sure you do it safely and securely, and don't be afraid. Once you know that it's safe and secure with the tool or the technology that you're using, go try. Make sure that you enable your teams to be able to fail fast and to try really hard to be able to find solutions that will really, truly drive the bottom line of your business, because there are so many opportunities to be able to really get ahead. And most of the time, people don't jump into it because they're too afraid of, well, what if? Stop with the what ifs.
Yeah. I think it's been a blast working with you and your team on some of those initiatives that that you just mentioned, and I think that's a key part of it is try something and then improve upon it. Like every time it'll get better. As you sort of brought that initiative to your team, how have you really been able to I guess create team cohesion behind that idea of fail fast, try hard, be safe, but don't let fear be the I guess break point behind you not trying something.
Yeah. I regularly share with my leadership team a lot of stuff about AI and what's happening in the world. And I think back to that text that I got from my boss just the other day, talking about this startup that's building the world's first AI CMO. It would be easy, and it is easy, for people to think, well, I'm not going to do that because maybe I'll be out of a job if I do it. Stop it.
Yeah.
Like that is a really silly way to go about leveraging or not leveraging AI in your job today. AI is really, really exceptional at good at certain things. And it's better than humans are at certain things. And guess what? Humans are better than AI at certain things. Yeah. And so make sure that you're leveraging the tools in the best ways to make you successful. There is no way, I think of from a competitive analysis perspective, AI has the ability to go and read and digest and understand and remember things that there's no way that my small brain could really do. It's not possible.
Yeah. Well, I think you got a great brain, Mark. But like to build on that, like, so once you find something that is working, like how do you really drive the resources into building that initiative? Like when you see an effective ad campaign or an effective GTM motion, or you find something within your marketing team that clicks, like how do you first evaluate that it's working, and then second, allocate those resources there?
Yeah. So I'm in an interesting position because I get to run marketing and our ADM org at Domo. And so we are incredibly data driven. It's actually pretty amazing when I look at the resources that I have at my fingertips at any time to understand how are we progressing. The easiest thing for any marketer to do is to say, I brought it in top of funnel sales. Now it's your responsibility. Like you're gonna fail as a marketer if you don't take credit for things further down the actual customer journey. So we are incredibly data driven. We know everything that's happening from a digital perspective. And so it's easy for us to be able to optimize and to, for our team to even put more fuel on that fire. If we see that something is really, really performing, our team could easily look at the data and say, hey, we need to double down on this because we have the data. And that's the key. If you have the data, then you're able to make some really stellar decisions really, really quickly that'll be able to hopefully help your business over the long term.
Yeah. One question I think a lot of people have, especially with some of this, like you said, like they get this fear when using AI and they want to be sort of the second mover, the third mover before they really dive in. Data can sometimes take a while to come in. What are some leading indicators that you found where you can, maybe you haven't seen things come all the way through the funnel, but you're like, oh, this is definitely the right direction. Like what are you looking for there?
Oh, excellent question. So much of what we're doing with AI today is, can you make a process better? Can you make it faster? Can you increase, for example, if it usually takes X number of dials or X number, we usually get a response rate of XYZ. Can AI help you do that faster? Can it help you increase conversion? Conversion matters to us significantly, whether that's just an MQL to SAL conversion, whether it's an MQL to SQO, whether it's S3 to actual wins. Like the data will help you make the very best decisions. And I would look from an AI perspective at what are the little small adjustments that you could make. I had one of my really good friends who regularly said said the phrase aggregation of marginal gains. Well, AI is exceptional at helping you make small changes that can affect big things at the end of the day. I mean, you think for some companies, making small changes from MQL to SAL or from S3 to Win could mean massive, massive amounts of money.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to shift and change all of those little things. You even think, we're looking right now at, well, how could we make our try-free Domo experience even better? Is there some kind of AI chat-like component in there where we could start saying, hey, do you want to try this? What about that? Where we can really recommend or help them along that value journey so that it's not just, hey, let's throw you in the product and hope you can figure it out.
Yeah.
But AI help you to be more effective at actually using the product. You think in our community, we have a place today where customers can ask any question they need about the product. That's amazing. And we have an absolutely stunning community. Community who has been answering questions for a long time and doing an absolutely incredible job at answering those questions. Well, AI is better at getting all of that information, taking it in from a knowledge base, taking it in from whatever those inputs are, and giving you really, really quick, like within seconds, answers to something that you may have questions about. That was something that we just put in place just recently, and it's going to be intriguing to see what happens over time. I mean, we know that the time to answer will decrease significantly. You've got to train the model and make sure that the model works in the right way, but that's the amazing thing about AI. You teach it and you retrain it as new information comes out, but it doesn't forget.
Yeah. It never gets worse.
Yeah. And so I'm really bullish and excited about what AI can do, both from every layer of your marketing funnel. It ought to be able to make it better and faster and more efficient.
What are some key places of friction within that funnel that you've experienced over your career that you're really excited for AI to be able to, as it's getting better, as it's adapting, as people are building these new tools out? What are some places you're like, this is when someone figures this out, I'm sold. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, there's so many. Performance marketing is a perfect example. We're talking right now about what's an agent that we could build on the Domo platform, for example, that would help us from a paid search perspective. We're bidding on a significant amount of keywords. You make optimizations along that. So, what are the specific paid landing pages that you want them to land on after they've actually searched a certain keyword? What are the micro adjustments at any given time that AI could help you to make? How do you make sure that you're getting the very most, you're paying the least, and you're getting the most value out of it? How do you make sure there aren't new keywords that you ought to be bidding on a regular basis? How do you make sure that you're looking at what your competitors are doing? And how do you create better content? Like the performance marketing place is an angle that I'm super intrigued to see what kind of agents we build that will help us to be more effective. But then you look at other use cases. I talked earlier about the idea of competitive intelligence. Wow. There is no way that a human being can do all of the work that a competitive intelligence AI agent could do on a minute-second basis. Creative. We've already seen all of the examples of what you can do from a creative perspective with AI. Like, don't wait. Don't wait. Jump in now. You're falling behind if you're not already all in.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think people are just worried about making mistakes, right? People are just worried about making errors and being the one that someone blames. And I think it's just fear, right? I think that's all it really is. When you look out and see other people using AI, other companies, other, I guess, thought leaders in the space, what are some mistakes that you see them making that you would maybe caution others against?
Yeah, there are certain mistakes that you can't make. And so be really careful. Be really careful about where you're sharing things, what data you're putting into whatever LLM you're using. Like there are things, sensitive customer data that's not something you can even you can even consider.
Mhm.
But what are the things that you could potentially leverage AI to be able to make a real significant impact? That's the key. You're going to make mistakes. Make sure that you don't make mistakes on the stuff that you can't make mistakes on.
Yeah.
You think of from a creative perspective, AI has the ability to pop out ads and images in way faster time than a designer could do. Okay, that's not super scary. Customer data. Yeah, that's something you can't make mistakes on. So make sure that you understand where you can make mistakes and where you can't make mistakes, and then you plan accordingly. But you're going to make mistakes. So just make sure that you're calculated on what mistakes are okay for you to make, and then move fast and move quick and fail fast and move on to the next optimization.
Yeah, I'm curious what you think about like how like public sentiment on AI is, especially around like marketing. I think it was Honda who released a full AI commercial over the holidays, and that got some people really loved it, and it had some backlash. I guess how, as a marketer, how do you navigate sort of that public communication or what your ICP thinks about what you're doing with AI?
Yeah, I think that for us, our customers want to make sure that it is secure. And so, we think of Domo as a place where our customers can build secure and private solutions using AI. That's really, really important to me. We have to make sure that you can be safe and you can be secure and you can build what you need to be successful. From an overall market perspective, for sure, there's still a lot of trepidation. There's a lot of people that are concerned. But to be honest, I think that while doing it safely and securely and in a governed way, we got to get over that. Yeah. I was listening to an interview recently with a billionaire investor that was on, I think, CNBC, and he talks about the fact that these AI models are increasing. I think it was increasing in efficiency anywhere from like 25% to 500% over 3 or 4 quarters. It was something that was like, oh my goodness gracious. This is not a matter of, well, I don't know, we'll see if AI is really going to take off. This is transformational in every single way. And so if you're waiting for it to be perfect, don't wait for perfection. Be safe and governed and jump in and realize where you can take risks and where you can't take risks. And then optimize everything that you can ever think of. But the opportunity is like nothing I have ever seen in my entire career. AI is revolutionizing every single job, and it will continue to. From a marketing perspective, whether you are a designer, a strategist, a creative, a performance marketer, somebody that's running social media, no matter what it is, you're doing SEO, you're building a website. If you are not fully jumping into how can I leverage AI to be able to make myself better as a marketer, you are behind. You're behind. And it's, for me, not a matter of that maybe this is too bold. Not a matter of will AI take your job, it's how soon. Now, that doesn't mean the AI is taking everyone's jobs, just in case I have some trolls that are now all over me for saying that. What it means is the people who can learn how to leverage AI in the very best ways will be the ones who win. Yeah. Those who sit on the sidelines and say, I don't know, I'm just going to wait for a little bit longer and see, then in my opinion, you should be concerned about your job. So jump in and don't wait and start getting value today because it's ready.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense. I 100% agree. I think the people who wait will be waiting for a long time, and there's no good time to jump in. So why not now? Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Mark, for joining us today. I think you had great insights on what AI is doing now and where AI is going in the future. If somebody wanted to reach out and follow up about what you think about AI and where it is in the marketing space, what's the best way to reach you?
For sure. There's 2 places. Go find me on LinkedIn, just Mark Booth, MarkBoothe. I tend to post quite a bit there, or feel free to reach out to me at email mark.booth@domo.com, and I'd love to stay connected.
Awesome. I recommend a Mark Booth follow or a connection on LinkedIn. He has great content, and And looking forward to talking again, Mark. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Michael.
Great. Thank you, Michael and Mark, for that look into how Domo is building with AI. We're running a little short on time, so we haven't gotten to questions. So keep commenting, and we'll continue to direct speakers to engage or reach out to them on LinkedIn. So next up, we'll turn our attention to a framework that's reshaping how go-to-market teams think. We'll be joined by Dave Boyce from Winning by Design and Gabe Larson as they kind of tackle product-led growth and AI and what that'll look like. So we'll go ahead and give the time over to them.
All right, welcome everybody. We're excited to get into this today. We're going to be talking PLG and AI, the future of go-to-market strategy. And to do that, we brought on my friend, mentor, colleague, professor. I mean, this guy is a master of all things. Dave Boyce. Dave, thanks for joining. How are you?
Amazing. I'm glad we made this work, Gabe. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, he says make it work because it was a little bit of a challenge, but you know
okay.
what? We're not going to go into that. We made it. We're here, etc. Anyways, before we dive into the topic, and can you tell the audience just a little bit about yourself, maybe some of the cool things you've been up to lately?
Well, one we'll hit at the end. I really have been heads down writing a book on this topic, so I'm excited to talk about it. And I'm currently the EVP of product at a company called Winning by Design, and I'm the executive chairman. And we are actually heads down working on this exact same topic too. So other than, like family and, hobbies, this is my singular focus is automated GTM.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, it's a hot topic. So I know you've got a lot to say. So let's maybe dive in. Let's start with some of the basics. How do you define this idea of product-led growth, and why do you feel like it's become such a dominant or important topic or model in SaaS in today's world?
I think we've seen nothing yet, Gabe. Like it has become dominant. Like you think about Slack, Atlassian, Zoom, Dropbox, DocuSign, Canva, all the, our next big IPO will probably be Canva. These are all built to using product-led growth. But we've seen nothing yet. Like the automated GTM using machines to kind of accelerate is definitely what it will drive the next wave of shareholder value. So the way that I define product-led growth, you could swap product out for AI, because I define it as the delaboring of go-to-market. So, in product-led growth, we employ the product to sell itself, install itself, onboard its own users, renew itself, et cetera. Like the product does all of that work.
Yeah.
And in AI, in AI-led growth, we will be able to ask a robot to do all that for us, or an agent, and but in neither case are we hiring expensive humans to do what a machine could otherwise do.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like that is kind of going to be the next big push. You talk a little bit about this efficiency idea. How does efficiency, does it play a huge role here, or how does this kind of emerge in with the product-led growth initiative?
I mean, we commercially minded people think about efficiency. Oh, wait, I could get a robot to do what I used to pay a human to do. That's ooh, I could get a steam shovel to do what I used to pay a human to do. Can it go faster? Can it be cheaper? Yeah, that's all true. That's all true. But it's more than just efficiency. I mean, we did things with product-led growth that no human-led growth company could ever do. Like if you have to hire someone to write your marketing copy, hire someone to go outbound prospect, or even inbound qualify demand, hire someone to close deals, hire someone to onboard and train, hire someone, you can only go so fast. You can only go as fast as you can kind of hire and teach people how to do those jobs and then manage them to do those jobs.
Yeah.
But then when we started asking the product to do it, then we got companies like Slack, 2.5 years, $100 million. Wait a second, $100 million in 2.5 years. Yeah. Because Slack could actually sell itself, onboard itself, train itself, monetize itself. And were there humans selling? Yeah, eventually there were humans selling, but all against the backdrop of a flywheel that could run itself. And so it could propagate itself. But Gabe, I said we see nothing yet. Like, this is not saying anything to you, but you've been tracking the AI native companies that are like hitting, like Cursor hit $100 million, not in 2.5 years, in 1 year.
Yeah.
$100 million. So I don't think we know quite what's possible and what's sustainable, but what we do know is that if we can get a machine to do the work for us, this has worked in every prior industrial revolution or technology introduction. We can get a machine to do the work for us. We get leverage, we get speed. And I think, I think efficiency is in there.
Yeah.
But full stop. Efficiency is in there. And there's more. So we can talk about the more, but efficiency is in there for sure.
Yeah. What then double click on? I mean, so certainly, I mean, Cursor is a great example. I mean, companies who, are not limited, to massive implementations or hours and hours of people trying to, piece together technology, are proving that it can be. Wow, you're right. 100 million a year. That's crazy. So what is the more then? You think you can do it efficient and you can do it better?
I do. I mean, I was like in prepping for this, you and I exchanged notes in a PLG product. Like nobody sold you Google Docs. And yet we used it. And we're now recording on a platform that's PLG. I double checked that before we got in. Free to start. Nobody sold that to you. I mean, maybe they did, but if they did, they're probably wasting time because it's just like click, 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 and now I'm running. So like our entire world is run on, I mean, I probably used a dozen free to start product-led growth products this morning. You probably did too. And that makes my life better as the buyer. Like sometimes my life is not better when I have to get on a call with a salesperson. Shocker. Sometimes my life is not better when I have to schedule a call with someone to teach me how to use a product, or when I have to read through a manual to figure out like step 1, step 2, here's how you install. Most of the time we're used to just getting our hands on the product, having the product teach us how to use it, and just moving our way into our life without the friction of a human trying to kind of interject.
Yeah. I mean, man, as I hear you talk about that, I'm like, why does anybody go the direction of big implementations and costly, people and enterprise this, enterprise that? There's 1,000 more questions I want to ask, but can you apply this? I think that's where people would say, Dave, I love what you're saying, but that's Google Docs. I mean, of course, that's a consumer grade product.
Right.
What if you're selling enterprise?
Love it.
Put something in there, CRM or enterprise ready. Like you can't have PLG for enterprise. That's crazy talk. How do you respond to that one?
Yeah, and you and I have talked a little bit about this. That's a bet. That's a bet you could make. Let's say I'm running an enterprise grade software company, and I want to make the statement you just made, like PLG is not going to work in my space. Okay, that's a bet. You can make that bet. But first of all, just check your market and see if anyone else in your market or adjacent is making it work on a self-service basis. Because I guarantee you, if you were GoToMeeting or WebEx and you owned 50%, like they basically split the market in video conferencing, right? Like half the world was on WebEx, half the world was on GoToMeeting. They said, "Oh, this is serious, telephony stuff. We got to plug into trunk lines, and we got to manage latency, and we got to manage security." I guarantee you, they would like a do-over on that decision.
You don't get do-overs, unfortunately. I wish I could, but yeah, you don't get those.
So if you're like, well, I don't know, like, yeah, I do. Well, first of all, if you have a competitor making it work, you got to run, not walk, to get it to work for you, because you will get disrupted from the bottom. That not quite good enough, not quite enterprise solution is going to get better and better over time. And if it's easy to use, it's going to spread faster than you can spread with your humans, and it's going to eat your market. So that's number one. If no one in your market is making it work, then you got a choice to make. you can either try to figure out how to be the first, which is what HubSpot did in CRM. You know, they tried to figure out how to get their CRM product to be PLG distributable. And now there are other companies, CRM companies, that are distributable via PLG, but HubSpot really tried. They looked outside of their market. No one was making it work in their market, and they were like, "Well, hang on, Shopify makes it work. Hang on, Dropbox makes it work. Shopify is actually not that simple. Couldn't we make it work?" And they just launched a team. You know,
God, Shopify is such a great example. That would be one that if you'd asked me X years ago, I would have put that on. You could never do that.
Right.
You know, that's way too complicated. But I guess that's what humans do. They take the unachievable and make it achievable, or what seems impossible possible. Want to bring this back to AI just a little bit. There's obviously a lot of hype going on. A lot of people wondering where to start, how to get into it. Did you feel like is AI actually delivering any real value in these types of PLG motions right now, or are we still in that talking the talk, not quite walking the walk?
So interesting that you say that. Like, I talk about the art of the possible, and we feel like we get bombarded by the art of the possible. Oh, you know what AI is going to be able to do in the future? Like, it's going to stitch your own outfit every morning, and put it on you as you walk out the door. Like,
yes, I want that. Put my shoes on. That I need that.
Yes, that's possible. I could imagine it,
Sure.
But the question is it really happening? Like, and the truth is, it's not, so I talk about the art of the present, like what's happening today, not the art of the possible. I get it, like anything, but what's happening today. We, Winning by Design, we actually went out and looked for actual on the ground examples. And we found 40 that we documented and are distributing right now as kind of proven case study stories of where AI is replacing or augmenting what humans are doing in GTM, like live examples with actual results. 40. I'm sure there are way more than 40, but it's not zero. It's not zero. And if you're interested, we can talk about a couple of those cool ones. I know obviously Signals is doing a bunch, and you're super familiar with that, but it is happening.
Yeah, I like that framing. Can maybe just throw out one, or let's start somewhere. Give me one that you feel like was kind of interesting, because I feel like that people are looking forward to that. Maybe if that report or document is out, maybe we can link that in this session, because I do think that's the art of the possible versus the art of the present is an interesting debate right now, and it's a fun dialogue. But people are looking for those baby steps, and they're struggling to find it. And I know I was on with the sales leader actually Friday. My goodness, he's like, I've been trying this very specific use case, and he's like, it's just not working at all. What are you seeing, Gabe, that is working? So anyways, does one come to mind that's maybe kind of interesting for the audience to hear?
Yeah, and there are swings and misses out there too. Like, we did uncover those as well. In fact, just this morning from the airport, I'm talking to somebody about one of those 40 case studies, and she was like, turns out they unwound it. Like, should we put it out of the book? Like, okay, like it's a public story, and then they unwound it. Like, we see some of that too. But so that, look, we're stepping into the unknown here. We're leading companies and leading GTM. We can decide what kind of stance we want to take. If we want to wait for it to be safer, then great. Some other people will be out ahead of us. But here's a couple examples. Like Mural has like millions of users, right? It's a freemium kind of PLG company. That upgrades into enterprise licenses over time, teams, and then enterprise licenses. So they have both self-service and human-led.
Yeah.
But you could imagine if you're on that sales team, like, where do you start? Like, on the one hand, amazing, I got millions of customers. On the other hand, do I really want to like start calling through, like Will Rogers Elementary.edu, to see if they want to upgrade their account? Like, I don't know. So they're using AI to kind of surface, based on fit and readiness, to surface the ones that are most likely to benefit from human intervention. They've got the most potential. They've got the patterns of success. And so now when their sales team calls in, they're calling a prioritized list. That's something kind of you and I have worked on similar things in the past.
I like that.
It's like yeah, go ahead.
Yes, well, that's nice. That it brings a little. It's a little more concrete, right? And truthfully, the thing I like about that as well is it doesn't feel like it's. Again, I don't want to go into that art of possibility again, but you have this. What was it, Klarna? I replaced my whole support team, and no one's working anymore, and we're all just sipping Mai Tais by the pool. It's small but very impactful. I like that. That's a great one. Is there a Mai Tais by the pool? I don't know where that one came from.
I don't even know what that means.
Is there another example? Give me one more if you don't mind. Maybe that stood out as kind of a interesting AI use case.
We talked about HubSpot going early into PLG. They were all sales led in the beginning, and then they kind of spooled up PLG so they could get a self-service motion going.
Yep.
And what's interesting is now on their PLG inbound small customers, basically the option is onboard yourself, install it yourself, swipe your credit card. They're now introducing an AI agent to help you with that process. Because and I know, as well as I do, like sometimes you get stuck, like I'm using Hostinger, or I'm using like GoDaddy, or I'm using like something that I should know how to do on my own, but I just get stuck. And I want to ask a question. I don't want to go type into the little help search bar and start reading like community articles. I can, it's going to take me a while, but could I just talk to like an agent and have her just help me figure out how to get unstuck, maybe help me figure out how to get over that hump to pull out my credit card. So that's what HubSpot's doing right now.
I like that. Yeah, great. That really takes it, that support use case. Maybe people haven't experienced this, but man, like a bot, a workflow bot, or an old school chat bot, that is kind of like if then this, or you kind of use the search bar, or you click on one thing and it then goes here and then goes there. Such a different experience than getting like this intelligent autonomous agent that you can kind of like have more real conversations with. And some people have been like, isn't this just a bot on steroids? And I'm like, you got to try that before you say that, because it really is a way different experience. That's a good one. I really like that. Couple more before I let you go, Dave. One of the things, you've done both, I think, in this world, right? You've scaled SaaS companies with traditional sales. You've obviously done PLG as well. As you think about both of those mixes, what's the biggest shift when you add AI into that mix? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, the biggest shift. It shouldn't be a shift, Gabe, but it is. Like we should, what I'm about to say is something we should already be doing. But you actually can't employ AI if you haven't done it. And that is document your playbook. Can I tell you a story, just a short story?
Do it. Let's go.
So I'm sitting in San Francisco right now, and it actually wasn't too far away from here. You and I were both at InsideSales.com. I don't know if you remember a guy named Prashant Arshad. He worked at Salesforce, and we were sitting at a Starbucks, and I'm like, Prashant, if you could give instructions to your sales team the way you would give instructions to a computer, how would you write that down?
Yeah.
Like, how would you, like, let's say your sales team were completely programmable. Then you would say step 1, step 2, step 3, or you'd say if this, then that, or you'd say, qualify on this and then go down this branch. Like, how would you write that down? Well, we actually should be training and teaching our sales teams that. It should be written down. They should be learning those strategies. It should be documented enough to where when we bring a new human in, she can learn her job and she can check herself against a process. Often we're too lazy to do that. Often we just say, oh, that's going to be, she's going to pick that up in the ether. It's going to be learn on the job. It's going to be more art than science, or it's going to be like, I'll watch how she works. I'll give her coaching in real time. But if you've got it written down, then you can actually upload it into an AI's brain. Now the AI can just go, right? And the AI can watch too, just like a human can watch what works and what doesn't. But honestly, if you're not codifying and kind of voting up and voting down certain strategies, it's very hard for the AI to pick that up. But if you're well architected and documented, then it doesn't matter whether you're employing humans or machines to do it. And in fact, the machines can run, they can do a lot more than humans can in some cases. And so you can just start handing off more and more if you've got it well architected.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at that. That's a great example or use case of how that could potentially be played out. Maybe one more I want to throw out there. You've been quoted, or I think you've thrown out this idea. AI won't necessarily replace sellers, but sellers who use AI will replace those who don't. It's a great line. What are some examples of where you've actually seen this start to play out? Is there a couple ideas that you have in mind?
I think it will replace sellers.
I love it.
But not all sellers. Like, look, I that's a decent way to make people feel good about kind of their position, but now I'll make you feel not good. Like, we actually have to continuously learn. Like, let's say that let's say I'm coaching a young sales professional just entering kind of the job market. Do you want that person to say, hey, AI is not coming for me, I'm better than everyone else? Or do you want that person to actually understand how to use AI to make her better? Like, I in my book, I say that AI will replace or fundamentally change 90% of GTM roles as we see them today. Like 90%. Like, there will not be a version of that sales role that doesn't include AI 5 years from now. There just won't. And for the people that are still trying to resist, they're going to end up, unfortunately, not employed. And the people, so you just have a choice. Like, do you want to learn how to play well in a human robot world, or do you want to be replaced? That's kind of your choice.
But at the moment, what advice would you give to sellers who are, or GTM role, people who are kind of feeling that pain right now and wondering what they should do to kind of either keep up with it, or are they just going to not have a job? Any quick advice for them?
Well, I just have to be not allergic. That's the number one thing. I have to be not allergic. Like, you can imagine when automated telephone switching swept through, and all the switchboard operators were worried about losing their jobs. Yeah. The world's going to change. So let me not be allergic to it. I can't stop it. Let me learn it. Let me become the operator of the new equipment or the new technology. If all direct mail marketers said, oh, email's the worst, like, it's never going to be able to replace my full, tangible, full color print, arrives in your mailbox, those people will be out of a job. But if they switch to, no, email's the best. Like, I can actually get to more people. I can be more dynamic. I can still use it. And I can actually be, use my database marketing skills that used to deliver something to your mailbox, and now use my marketing skills to deliver something to your email inbox. We just got to switch. We just got to get our heads wrapped around it, and then figure out where you're going to play. And I believe smart, flexible, creative, curious people will be fully employed for as long as we can see into the future. It's just, if you're allergic to it and you try to resist it, and you fall behind, then you put yourself at risk.
Yeah, I love it. The book, how do we get it? What's going on with it? Where do people find it? Let's leave with that.
Rock on. Thank you. Thank you. I know we'll put in the show notes, but productledgtm.com, productledgtm.com. I'm releasing the book for free, one chapter at a time, as you would expect for a book called Freemium. And also, you'll see at the top pinned an option to pre-purchase the book. It comes out in August from Stanford Business Books. And you can buy it anywhere you buy books, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Target, Waterstones if you're in the UK. So it's available for pre-order now, or you can read it right now online.
I love it. All righty. Well, Dave, it's so fun talking with you. It'd be fun to take maybe 2 more hours, but you have places to be. I'm sure I do as well. So we will stop with that. Again, thank you for your time. For the audience, have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you, brother.
Great. Thank you for that amazing session, Dave and Gabe. Great way to wrap up this event. We appreciate your insights. And we also want to thank everyone who participated in our live sessions today and for supporting these amazing speakers. We want to remind you again that we just released more on-demand sessions. I'll share the agenda right here. Make sure to check them out. Go to talkaisummit.com. It's definitely worth your time. And all registrants through the website get access to all content from today on demand. And then let me remove that. So we're excited to bring this event to you. We would really appreciate your feedback. You can connect with us on LinkedIn and tell us what you think, share what resonated with you, and let us know which speakers you'd love to see at future events. Once again, congratulations to all the nominees. It's truly been an amazing event with record-breaking votes and registrants. So thank you to all those who participated, and we'll see you at our next event.